Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Haltech Heroes. Today, we're here on location at Ian Porter's house and his workshop, and we're having a look at his Ford Falcon Ute. So Porter, before we start on your Ford race car, we need to know a few things about the Ford Falcon series, I suppose. So for the guys who aren't in Australia, we need to know a bit about what is a Ford Falcon, what is a Ute, and what is this Barra engine?
Okay, Ford Falcon's a pretty common car in Australia. They use them for a lot of taxis and one of the best selling cars in Australia. A utility or ute is, I suppose, maybe a chopped down wagon, what they'd call a truck in America, like a pickup truck.
So and in America, I suppose probably our utes are similar to like an El Camino style car.
Yeah, sort of El Camino. So they're smaller than like your F trucks and that, two-seater or some three-seaters, I suppose. So the Barrow Motor came out in 2002 in the Falcon. It's an inline six-cylinder, 4-litre capacity. Comes turbocharged or naturally aspirated, and they make heaps of power.
So this Barra engine, we've sort of started to get on top of it in Australia. It was only delivered here, 4 valves per cylinder. It is a crazy powerful engine factory. If you put a set of injectors, a turbocharger on it, it's not unusual at all to see these things with 500 kilowatts at the wheels, stock internals. Mate, we race these cars as a sedan style shape in our V8 Supercar series, but what on earth made you choose a Ford Ute to turn into like a high-tech race car?
So the car was smashed. A mate of mine owned it, and it was sitting around for a long time. Decided, you know what, I need to build a new car.
Wow, well, it certainly doesn't look smashed now. It's one of the best examples that I've seen around. It's got an awesome aero sort of package. It's got the huge wing. It's got a side exit exhaust. I think we better have a bit of a closer look. Porter, the first thing that I noticed when we take the hood off this thing is that there's still a lot of factory parts, a lot of standard Ford bits that have been retained, but then obviously there's a lot of changes because it is a race car and it does make good power. So first looking at it, I suppose, on the intake side, there's something a little bit different going on here. What's the story with having the throttle out the front here?
Yeah, so I went with a forward-facing plenum, just for the simple fact that the standard ones face over towards the driver's side, and we've got all the turbo and everything there, and to keep the intercooler piping shorter and make it all look a bit nicer.
And the throttle body on the front, there's no cable there. So what style of throttle body is that?
So it's just a factory BA turbo throttle body, drive-by-wire, so all controlled by ECU and a sensor on the pedal.
And the standard sized throttle blade in there?
Yeah, all standard. Yeah, that's all factory.
Wow. Going through to the middle of the engine, I suppose, it's a really wide engine and it is really tall as well. Through the middle, it's got a whole bunch of direct fire coils. Anything special about these?
No, so they're factory Falcon coil packs. Those ones have probably done about 1,000 Ks or so. They're good for at least 500-600 kilowatts at the wheels.
The standard coils?
Yeah, factory coils. I use factory genuine plugs in it as well. Wow.
And I'm moving over to this side. High mount turbo is not standard on these things.
No, they're normally a low mount 3540. This is a high mounted GTW 3884. So we've made a manifold, different intercooler pipes and intake for it.
So I look down here, I can see a couple of wastegates down there. I can see at least one. How many gates have you got down there?
Yeah, so it's running twin TurboSmart 50mm gates just to control the boost pressure so we can run a really low boost if we want.
That's a bit of a torque management strategy.
Yeah, to help with traction, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you've told us that it's got stock coils in it. Obviously, it's got a larger turbo, but stock throttle body. It's got a huge set of injectors that I can sort of see. What size are the injectors down there?
So running Bosch 2000cc injectors.
And what fuel goes through that injector?
It runs on E85 or E-Flex actually, so about E75.
All right, well, we've talked a bit about the ancillaries, the stuff around the engine. The actual engine itself, like we spoke about before, is a 4-litre twin cam, 4-valve per cylinder. Have you done anything to this thing?
No, I haven't. It's a stock FG Falcon motor, so the model after the BABF series. All we've done is put a set of valve springs in it and a set of oil pump gears.
Right, so valve springs and oil pump gears, are they a known problem with an FG engine or what's?
No, just so we can run a bit higher boost levels, just a high pressure spring. And the oil pump gears, they just have a tendency to break, especially in manual cars, high power and high RPM.
Right, so this engine, if all you do is put valve springs in it and put some oil pump gears in the front of it, roughly in Australia here, what's one of these engines worth to put in your race car?
To buy a second-hand one of these motors from the wreckers, probably looking at about $1,500.
That's pretty impressive. And I suppose the most important thing, it's on ethanol, you've got all your intake stuff sorted, you've got a decent sized turbo on it, boost pressure and power.
At the moment, we're running 22 pound and it makes 497 kilowatts at the wheels.
So close enough. You can claim 500 kilowatts. I'll give you the
yeah,
three.
Righto.
So 500 kilowatts at the wheels. Stock crank rods, pistons, camshafts.
Yep.
Mate, it makes complete sense to choose the Barra engine. Well, with all of that power, I guess you're going to need a way to get it to the ground and to be able to actually get the tyre to stick, as well as get the thing to brake in the first place. So starting from the front, I can see you've got something, a bar here or a detachable, or something. What's going on here?
Yeah, so we've just made a removable rad support just so pretty much the whole front can come off in one. Yeah, so I've only just started with the aero on it, just done fiberglass bar and canards, a little splitter. Josh at JSAI is doing a flat floor for it over the next 12 months and yeah, different front bar on that.
It's nice to see that you've got the engine package all sorted out and then you're going to go start working on the aero.
Yeah, that was the plan, to try and get it driving and sort of learn the feel of the car and then slowly add some more aero and not just go all out straight away.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And if we work back a bit, the points for the strut tops, are these, I'm noticing here that the cage comes through to the strut top. Is this standard or have we moved here or what's going on in the top?
Yeah, so factory pickup points. We've just brought the roll cage all the way through to the strut towers just to stiffen the front end a little bit more. But yeah, all factory pickup points in the front. It's got custom BC coilovers in it. And but yeah, all factory arms and...
Well, the fab work is super impressive that I can see the cage coming through the firewall to the strut top so it ties the whole car together. So how about we go inside, have a bit of a look around and see what the cage looks like in there?
Yeah, most of the fab work's in the back. So maybe if you want, we'll lift the lid up and have a look in the back.
Oh, well, let's turn it around and see what you've got going on in there.
No problem.
So when we opened the bonnet at the front of this car and we said the engine bay looked fairly sort of standard, a lot of standard components still in there, you can't say any of that about the rear. We've just taken the tray off and I don't recognise anything in here. So before we get into it, I suppose, the first thing, what rear end are these supposed to have in them?
So they come out factory with a solid diff and leaf springs. And yeah, we've cut the chassis off about 30 centimetres out of the back of the cab and done all the tube framework and installed a 300ZX rear subframe.
This looks as far from a set of leaf springs as you can possibly get. So you said this is 300ZX all down, so the actual subframe is a standard 300ZX.
Yep. Yeah, so you could pretty much pull this out of the car and go and mount it in a 300ZX.
Right, and this gives us, so it's all independent?
Yep. So we get independent suspension, the R230 diff, which is, I suppose, pretty indestructible. You can buy all the adjustable arms and everything off the shelf for it. And yeah, it just works really well for us.
Wow. So it's a Nissan R230. So what does the 230 mean?
230mm crown wheel, so a little bit bigger than a 9-inch.
Yeah. So even with all the power and with the power that you plan to make with this thing, pretty hard to break that.
Yeah, we'll hope so.
Underneath here, I can see the pipe or the exhaust that comes out with the tail shaft and then side exits.
Yeah, so it's just got a full straight through 4-inch exhaust from the turbo back and just exits behind the driver's door there.
Yeah, nice.
Sounds awesome.
And it's good as well that it doesn't come, you've got a fuel cell here and I can see all the fuel lines along here. So the exhaust is on one side of the car, the fuel's on the other side.
Yeah, it keeps all the heat away from everything. So
yeah, very nice.
Yep.
And coming further back, we've got a giant wing.
Yeah, so the wing's from Top Stage Composites. it got put on because the Ute hasn't got much no weight in the rear, so it's to give us a bit of traction in the rear at high speeds. And we've tied the wing into the chassis via this here and goes all the way down to the subframe pickup points.
Yeah, well, with the bar work here, I can imagine, I don't know how much force or how much weight is on this wing at your top speed, but obviously you're anticipating a fair bit.
Yeah, it's sort of like to over-engineer things, I suppose.
So from the wing comes back up here through the bar work, and then we get to the pickup points at the top here. So are these factory positions out of a Nissan still?
Yeah, so we got ourselves a 32 GTR and measured up all the angles, pickup point positions and stuff, and just, made it all off that.
It makes complete sense to not re-engineer the car, but rather get the best bits out of all the cars that you like,
and
100%. Then put them into one.
Yep.
I love it. I can't believe the amount of bar work and just the amount of engineering that goes into something like this, and especially knowing that you built it in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, myself and Daniel from Impossible Fabrications did most of the build, like most of the fab work stuff, but the whole build was about 3 months. Start to finish.
Wow. And how did it go the first time you got it out on a track with all of this crazy stuff and all of this crazy engineering? How did it go?
First time was about 12 months ago at Mount Panorama in Bathurst. And it was a great weekend. Car didn't miss a beat all weekend. And had heaps of fun. Big learning curve for me, but
It's a credit to you that you've done so much work and that nothing fell apart.
No, that's it.
Well, I guess before we sort of move away, we've got our cage that sort of comes through. We've got cage everywhere. There's crossbars all over the place. So do you want to show us inside? Because I guess there's a whole bunch more cage work in there, in the office where all the work gets done.
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it.
Well, now that we're in the cabin, I can really see all the bar work in the cage and how nice it is in here. Mate, have they gone overboard or what's the story?
The main thing with the cage work was to make sure that it's safe. I don't want to have an accident and hurt myself, so we went to town on the cage pretty much.
All the side intrusion, we've got a bar through the middle, there's plenty over the top, and obviously they tie into the back.
Yeah, all just adds to the structural integrity of it.
Perfect. And does that help as well when you're doing your suspension setup? Does this help as well to make sure that every corner of the car is tied together?
Yeah, so having the car a lot stiffer means that you can actually just use the suspension to do its job.
Yeah,
you're not getting flex out of the car, and
makes sense for sure. And coming through all your instrumentation, again, like everything else in the car, it's just simple and it just works. So you've got some basic switches and your logging dash.
Yeah, we tried to keep it all pretty basic. As with a race car, you don't want stuff that you don't need. So the car had a full rewire. Faz from Raiden Technologies rewired the whole car front to rear, and we're just gone with the Haltech dash and got six switches in it. That's it.
You can't go that far wrong. This button here is a bit interesting. It's the start button, but tell us. I recognise this.
That's actually out of a BA Typhoon, so the sort of top of the range of the BA Falcon. Yeah, they came with a start button, so just use that.
Nice to have a little bit of Ford, little bit of fancy Ford stuff in there. So as we move past the logger dash, past the switches, we get to the engine management system. So what ECU are we using down here?
So it's running the Elite 2500 ECU. We've just got a wideband controller, CAN hub, and Haltech fuse box down there as well. And the IQ3 dash.
For sure. So on your dash, what are the most important things that you're looking at when you look at your dash?
So it's just on the front screen, we've just got gear position, RPM, speed, and then your oil temp and water temp pretty much.
For sure. And what else are you using your ECU for? Have you got any advanced functionality going on?
Yeah, so we've set up anti-lag on it and also traction control, which we're just slowly learning, I suppose.
For sure. So the anti-lag that you're using, I think, is the rally style anti-lag. So basically what that means is that when you're racing your circuit car, when you come off the throttle and the car's in deceleration, it actually retards the ignition timing. It lets some air in. So you're actually building boost while the throttle is almost shut. So that means that when you get back on the throttle, you've got boost pressure there. There's no turbo lag and you've got full power.
Yep.
Likewise, your traction control stuff.
Yep.
I know that we already spoke about you've got 4 wheel speed sensors on this car, and we're measuring the percentage slip from the front to the rear.
Yep.
and we've got a pre-programmed amount of slip, so that if we say that we can only let the rear wheels go 15% faster than the front wheels, that way, as soon as we get 15% slip, the ECU will either retard the ignition timing, close the throttle, or actually drop cylinder events altogether in order to maintain the amount of grip that you're going to need to drive this car.
Yeah, exactly. It helps heaps. Awesome way.
I absolutely love it. The whole car is set up so well, and I can't wait to run into you at a track day.
Thanks very much.
Well, Porter, thanks so much for having us over at your place to check out your race car. I absolutely love it. Every single part of it, from the front to the back, is exactly what I expect a race car to be. It's powerful, it's got a lot of technology, but at the same time, it's simple and it just works. So it's a real credit to you and the guys who've built it.
Thanks very much.
Mate, well, that's about it for today. As always, thanks very much for watching. My name's Scott, and I'll see you next time.